is our 5th bargaining session for instructional. Let's go ahead and do a quick round of introductions like we always do to make sure we have our notes accurate. So, is it okay if we start with Dolly?
Dolly Beaver, Business Operations Analyst.
Michelle Golden, HR Staffing.
Stephanie Workman, HR.
John Cash, Chief of Staff.
Todd Cease, Chief Financial Officer.
Teacher Wittenberger, Director Budget.
Joshua Jackson, Principal, Creekside Middle School.
Andrew Langenback, General Counsel's Office.
Jennifer Miller, Alt Ed.
Kristen Casella, Student Social Worker.
Kelly O'Brien, School Psychologist. Joanne Strickland, Speech Language Pathologist.
Deanna Ha, Instructor.
Robert Bryce, Instructional, Creekside Middle.
Jonathan Birdie, New Smyrna Beach Middle School Instructional.
Beth Friedel, View, Staff.
Elizabeth Albert, View President.
Lakita Howard, Professional Learning Specialist.
Okay. All right, do you have minutes?
Dolly, do I have? Okay. I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't even open the
okay.
folder. You good? Yeah. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Mimi's filing system.
Dolly, I think there's something else.
Looks like a, that's not mine. That must be yours.
Are you ready? All right, we'll do our people. Me, you, Lakita, Matt, Carla, Pam, Adam, Christian, Robert, Jennifer, Jonathan, and Kelly. Is that everybody? Yep. Okay. So Stephanie, Mr. Cash, Deidre, yep. Michelle, Dolly, Mr. Langerock, Dr. Evans. Yes. Dr. Evans, Ms. Douglas, Mr. Jackson, and then Melissa Stillwell. She's not here today, is she?
She's out today.
Okay, all right. So, yep. Approve the minutes with the corrections. Okay, and then we passed 18, 15, 22, 26, appendix sheet, and then a cost sheet. And then the district passed 9, we caucused at 5:33. Yep, and then we came back at 6:36, right? And then, oh, okay, that's okay. And then, the district counted on 22. About 18. Well, it's, yeah, it's 18. And then 26. Correct. Okay, and then we scheduled, or we talked about the next meeting. Okay. All right, we're good?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so at the end of the last meeting that we had, there were a lot of counters that came back across the table. So we're prepared to respond to those. And so that is how we want to start today. And I'll just say I'm feeling pretty positive about this convening and thinking that we're going to get a lot done today. So we're going to start with what I think is going to be very successful conversation. So we're going to start with 22.
Okay.
Okay, we're all set? All right, so you'll see that in Article 22, we have current contract language all the way through to where we had originally or initially agreed to change the increment for the sick leave pay period. So you'll see that we have reverted back and taken out the maternity.
Okay.
We will try that another time.
Okay.
As we continue through, again, current contract language until we get to the bereavement section. Yep, okay. So we recognize the agreement on the bereavement, and we're really excited about that. But when we spoke last week, there was a conversation about identifying immediate family. And so what we did here was we went in and put in what we took away from the conversation. It's in a different order than what the counter had, just because we felt like, for example, domestic partner was at the end of the counter, but we put that next to spouse because it seemed to just go there. But if you want to take a look at those.
Okay.
And then we also included a sentence, because I had asked the question about immediate household. Does that mean that someone actually has to live with you? Excuse me. And the answer was no. And so that's why I put that in there.
Okay. And while we're talking about this, one thing I want to mention is the transfers of leave under N. You okay?
Yeah, I meant drink water, but yep, let's
Okay.
keep going.
And we, obviously haven't met again on support since we met here. One of the things that we did in that language that I would like to also do in this one is I would like to strike B. Any unused sick leave transferred shall be returned to the authorizing employee if unused by the recipient. And this came out of a conversation with the payroll department, because if you are in a situation, and I'm just going to use people sitting at the table as my example. So Michelle is out sick, and Lakita gives her 2 days, you give her 2 days, Beth gives her 2 days. So you guys have all donated 6 days. But through her, whatever her medical need is, she only uses 4 days. It is impossible for payroll to be able to track who gets the 2 days back. There's not a mechanism that we have to be able to track that. So I feel like that whatever is donated just remains with that person.
So a follow-up question to
Sure,
that.
sure.
So, in a this is new territory for all of us.
Correct.
So, we're not limiting the intervals that someone could donate to an individual, correct?
Correct. No,
So-
absolutely not.
So in this scenario, instead of over-donating, perhaps, because we can have different intervals for donations, maybe they're incremental. So for example, I donate 4 days.
Mhm.
And so we realize that 4 days isn't gonna be enough. So then Lakita donates 3 more days. And then we would be able to incrementally do that along the way, perhaps to avoid having extra days sitting there.
Well, what I'm getting at is there's no way to, especially if it's in a school, it would be a little bit easier. But you know that we have some teachers who have been at multiple schools in their career, and if, God forbid, something happened, their fellow colleagues at their current school plus at their previous school would want to donate. Payroll cannot track how those are coming in. I can't, that would just be a burden on the payroll department. But they understand and they like the idea of the leave, because a lot of them have been through situations with you and I where we wish we could have done something.
Okay.
So,
Deanne, Dr. Hawk?
Yes.
This was an initiative that you brought forward, so do you have any feelings on the removal of B?
My question would be, and it's just a question because I've never worked in your department at
Mhm.
all, or would have any idea. How far in advance do they need to give the days for the person to take it off? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
no, that does, that
Okay.
does. The good thing about the way leave works is you're usually, like right now, we're working on days that were taken off back at the beginning of the month. So there's always a delay. So my thought would be you would need it within, like a week. So if Elizabeth's in a situation and we need to donate days for her, that it would just need to be at least a week prior.
Okay. I don't really have any objection to that being taken out, and as we've sat here in several meetings, I've thought to myself, how are they gonna know which day goes
Right.
to what person?
Exactly,
So
and that's my worry.
I did see that, but just as long as we could make sure that, within a timely manner. So if you only needed 2 days next week, then you could get the 2 days, but you would still have those, so you weren't docked pay.
Exactly, and that would be our goal, is to never, I would never want to dock somebody knowing that there is somebody out there wanting to donate. It's just one of those situations that I would also want to be fair to the employees who are donating, and for me to have to select who's gonna get the day back, that's not my call. So, okay.
All right, it's, when we do sick day
Mm-hmm.
and people donate, do you return the days? I think they go into the bank.
They go into the bank, correct. And we don't have a bank in this case.
Right.
Because it's individual, so,
And the
Right.
person can't just keep it.
correct.
Okay, so I don't think that's a deal breaker. What do you think, how do you feel about the identification of immediate family?
I need to,
Can we TA this one?
what are your thoughts on that, Andrew?
I think it's fine. The only note I made, and this is, my team's tired of me probably constantly talking about wording, but is possibly playing with somewhere that might say something like, that whole sentence, an individual does not have to reside with the employee to be considered a member of the immediate family if they fall within a category above or similar role. And then that way, and I'll tell you why, that way we're not getting to arguments where someone's going, well, so-and-so, I consider them immediate family, my second cousin I haven't seen in 4 years, but they don't live in my house, so they're, and
Well, when we spoke about this last time,
Right.
I think I stated, because we have parents and step-parents, and
Absolutely.
just making sure that there isn't a restriction because we use immediate household.
No, for
That-
sure.
yeah.
And I agree with the language you've added. I don't have an issue with it.
Okay.
I'm saying I might add like a clarifier on the back end to say that if they don't live within your household, they essentially are one of these, fall within these roles we're discussing. So you're step parent or someone of that nature. That's all. I agree with you that, because on the other side of what I'm saying, you could see where immediate household could get confusing from the other side with step parents or someone like that. So the idea of immediate household from our side was, if you take in a family member or someone who, who's now essentially your child, you should be able to take bereavement if something happens. That's my only suggestion, is maybe adding some clarifying language that I'll work out. But it will have the exact same effect as what
Okay,
this is saying.
so we, I'm glad, thank you for the explanation. We just felt that it was pretty clear, the identifiers, but again, because we're dealing with adults here, we wanted to make sure that there wasn't a restriction on immediate house. So maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree, but I think we're pretty much done with this one. I mean, we can, if you want to type it up and strike that B, and we'll pass it back, that's
Do you want
fine.
to TA on this and then?
Kinda do.
Yeah, let's just
Alright.
strike it and then we'll get a clean copy.
Yep.
And I'll just add, one of the things that's good about it too is talking about immediate household, because obviously we have children and siblings who don't live with us.
Right.
So that I think is very reasonable.
Okay, so we are striking B, which is the last sentence on the second to the last page, and the first, it finishes on the top of the last page.
And then that'll make the next one B and then the next one C.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so time for the TA. I have
5:12.
5:12.
Lord, I'm already in October. Oh, let's see. Huh?
We're in September.
Correct. I messed up and wrote October. I
Oh
said
my
I'm
God.
already there.
I'm losing it.
Here.
All right, perfect. All right, starting
All right.
off with that.
Dollar, can I have your copy? Since you always take mine. Thanks.
All right, so let's keep up the momentum. Let's go to 18. We'll do 18 next. Okay, so with Article 18, we are still requesting a copy of the discipline matrix. We talked about it being a document that's publicly available. So instead of us having to do a public records request and then putting it on the website or sharing it that way, we just feel that it's a tool with explanation that our instructional personnel need to have. I heard Ms. Douglas very clearly and Mr. Jackson when they talked about it was a guide. There's a lot of things that are guides, but it's nice for our instructional folks to be able to know where the guardrails are and where the parameters are. So, and again, because it is publicly available, we can get it, but it shouldn't have to be that difficult.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say a copy,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Nothing
That,
like
it can be electronic, correct?
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah, it doesn't, that's actually easier.
that's what I was thinking.
So
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And so then there was an acceptance prior
Mhm.
of that language about the deletion of the referrals. So on the next page, we still want to have a conversation about returning a student back to class for re-entry with that level 2 or higher code of conduct violation. We believe that communication is key to creating solutions, and so we're just asking here for communication from admin, the administrative dean, someone who can articulate what has occurred. Just having the student return to class without any kind of understanding of what happened when they were gone, like we called mom, she's gonna handle it, or he's gonna have lunch detention next week, or whatever they do anymore. We just feel that that communication part is really important, and we want to make sure that our instructional and support staff are in line with what admin is thinking, and vice versa, when students are having to be removed from academic time for discipline issues. So that's why that is still there. When we took out the proposed language on response time for pushing the button, we understood, but that still is a concern, quick response time. And of course, you know, there is no dollar amount on having a conversation when a student is returned to class. So these are some of the things that will help improve the working conditions and build capacity amongst employees. And so that's it. I believe that's it. We struck preferable because we do want that also available in writing. But that typically happens when the referral is processed in focus, I believe.
So that would count?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's it on 18.
Okay, keep going. Because I'd like for us to just have a conversation about that one.
Okay, the next article then we will talk about is 9.
There you go.
Do you have enough?
Oh, we've got more than enough. I'm sure there's extra.
Okay. All right, so in Article 9, you'll see that we have reverted to original contract language for NTA. You know, that's something that we want to make sure that there's the proper support and that folks are feeling like they have resources. So we went ahead and reverted back to that original language there.
Okay.
You'll see that on the next page, we are still asking for the planning days for the first 3 teacher duty days to be virtual. You know, making sure that instructional staff are adhering to established procedures and expectations for communication, and that they're available to do any virtual training that would be required on the morning of those teacher duty days. Again, this is a no-cost proposal. This is something that would really send a message to instructional staff. You know, we value you, we respect your time, and it costs nothing to the district. Number 6, we're asking for case managers to receive the additional duty day each month for the purpose of completing paperwork, documentation, and other requirements. And so that one's still in there. Moving forward, we are also asking that itinerant personnel shall be allowed to work from home on teacher duty days and one additional day of their choosing, and their work hours need to be consistent with contractual hours. We acknowledge on the next page the acceptance of the open house date being communicated to employees. And then we modified what our proposal was previously to say this. Bargaining unit employees shall only be required to attend one open house event per academic year. When we talked about this, there was a conversation about some schools wanting to split over 2 days. So as long, and okay, we would like to know who's doing that, but as long as we have language that says you're only required to go to one, which I believe is the expectation, but to have it in writing makes it a bit more clear.
Okay.
And then I heard you about the time, because we had originally had an hour and a half in there. So what we're proposing here is open house shall last no more than 2 hours. I don't believe anybody's going beyond 2 hours.
No, I don't think so either.
But I'd like to have something in place so that there's clarity on what those expectations are.
Okay.
So I don't think that's too much to ask there. Moving on to the next page, this, we had talked about N, it's not supposed to be stricken.
Right, yep.
But just removing that word temporarily, because teachers shouldn't be doing administrative duties, whether they be temporarily or permanently. So it just kind of doesn't make sense to have that word temporarily there. And we're not gonna pay them more for doing something they're not supposed to be doing, so that's why we've brought that one back around. Now, comp time, at the bottom of the page, we have made some adjustments. So again, this is something that other districts are doing. We recognize that there is a need to do some of the things that we need to do, but this is a way to do them at no cost. So just hear me out as I go through these different sections here. So what we changed in 1 is for the 25-26 academic year, the district and union agreed to engage in a pilot program to offer compensatory time. This pilot program shall be limited to secondary schools only.
Okay.
So we're trying to get there. We're trying to figure this out. All right, so then number 2, compensatory time shall be granted by site-based administrators for voluntary participation as a sponsor of a school club that occurs beyond the 7.5-hour workday. Now, this is new here. Compensatory time granted for club sponsorship shall be limited to 1 club per academic year. You talked about restrictions. We don't want to do 5 clubs and rack up all that. So
Right.
we heard you, so we're
Okay.
trying to address that. Compensatory time shall be provided in lieu of a supplement upon mutual agreement of the parties. A supplement performance order shall be completed and signed by the individual prior to the performance of the duty. So that was there before. Number 3 is new, because again, we heard your concerns, but this is really important to us. Compensatory time for sponsoring a club shall be earned at the rate of 2 compensatory days per year. So when we looked at the current supplement for club sponsorship, it's about $500.
Yeah.
So that's about 2 days' worth of work
Mhm.
for average teacher salary.
Correct.
So that's why we landed here with 2 days.
Okay.
We felt that was fair. And then I think the rest of it is still the same. It's about
Not carrying it
accruing,
forward and- Yep.
no monetary or terminal value.
Now, I noticed on number 7, so it would be treated like paid personal?
Yes.
That they'd have to do, okay.
So I really want you to know that we are trying on this. We believe this to be mutually beneficial, not only to the
district and the schools, but also to employees who want to do this. Matt, would you like to add something?
Yeah, and this is something that we originally wanted across the board. But the reason why we limited it to secondary schools at this time for the pilot is secondary schools have more non-rostered staff. And so if I am an economics teacher and I happen to take off a day because I do chess club, my class could potentially be covered by an academic coach, one of the administrators. Maybe we have a sub on campus that's already subbing 6 classes instead of that 7. And it's a little bit more cost effective at the secondary level, I think, than it would be at an elementary school, who doesn't have the same resources of staff on campus to sub in that spot. That was the reason why we restricted to secondary for the pilot.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. In your mind, you're thinking that there wouldn't necessarily be the need to pay a sub.
That's my thought,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That's why we limited to that, and that's, again, trying to get this across the board with the zero cost mindset, while also increasing the number of clubs for kids, because that's, part of the reasons why we can become competitive with other schools in the area, is we offer some of these additional clubs.
And to be clear, this occurs by mutual agreement of the administrator and the teacher. So all 10 high schools don't have to do this if they don't mutually agree to do so. But in the ones that want to dip their toe in this pool and try it to see if it works, the opportunity is now there.
And it would be middle schools also?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying.
Well, I just used high school.
Yeah, no, but I just want to make sure okay. Todd, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we currently pay a fee for another teacher to cover another teacher's class
Yes,
right now?
we do.
So there is a
Yeah,
cost
if
associated.
a non-rostered teacher were to take that class for the day, they would get 1 hour of additional pay at their hourly rate.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
But that is $35 to cover the class for the whole day, because
Instead
they're
of
not rostered, as
100.
opposed to the 125 that the sub would cost.
112.50, but yes.
There you go.
112.
So it is,
Yeah,
I
was
guess
just-
there is if you use
Yeah,
if
'cause
you
you're
use
just
an
trying to
academic coach.
calculate.
Well, I was just trying to clarify too, because you originally said there was no cost at all, that there is an inherent cost built into this, so I just wanted to make sure that we were transparent about that cost.
You're correct. If the uses of a coach, or that sense, but if the uses of an I don't know how, like, I'm not a high school principal, I don't know how this would do, or a middle school principal, like, I don't know how it would work. I just know that secondary schools have more staff.
But now there are some schools that have subs that are there, and I guess that would then be a cost too. So, yeah, I guess you're right, I misspoke. But $35, what a deal to have students able to access a club all year long. So, max cost of $70. That's a pretty good deal if you ask me. All right, let's keep going. Down in the early release section at the bottom of 4, we're asking that on weeks when an ERPL occurs, we don't have a faculty meeting, and that PLC shall not occur on the same day as an ERPL. That's just a kind of giving grace to folks. I mean, you have a PLC on the same day you have an ERPL, that's one heck of a day. There is a saturation point for new learning, so I don't see that as being a difficult lift there. So we're keeping that in as part of our proposal.
Okay.
And that brings us to the end.
All right. Just
Okay.
take it and discuss it.
All right. And then, the one you've been waiting for, 26.
Do you want me to put this on the screen?
Maybe not yet.
Okay.
Are you ready?
You good? No, it's okay. I just didn't want you to follow me.
Yeah, I know, tell us.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start.
Okay.
All right, you'll see that we have reverted back to original contract language in the area of advanced degrees. We will go after that at another time.
Okay.
So there's that. You will see that we have also removed the 206-day mass for advanced degree schedule based on
The
what was
other language,
discussed
yeah.
later. Yes, absolutely. All right, so then moving on to page 3, we are still asking for consideration of the additional compensation when class sizes exceed certain numbers there, and also when caseloads exceed certain thresholds as well. That's the same as it has been. Moving on to the next page, we also are wanting to continue, we pulled off the 24 increments on the retention supplement. We had talked about perhaps a separate pay run for retention supplement, so that's great compromise there. So thank you for that. You'll see that we still are maintaining an increase to retention, and here is why. We know that compression for our mid-career and veteran instructors is a real thing. It's very problematic that we have folks with 20 years of service who are just making a few $1,000s in base pay more than beginning teachers. And so the creation of the retention supplement several years ago has done very good work to put some space in between early career educators and those who have been here for a while. So much so that our board chair frequently references the retention supplement and states that it was one of the best things that we've ever done. So we want to continue to fund that retention supplement, adding to it each year so that we can continue to show our mid-career and veteran educators that your loyalty and dedication to VCS matters. And so that's why we have that there. Go ahead.
It's also a way, as we mentioned last time, the veteran teachers, and really anyone who's beyond like year 15, have really, like, inflation has really eaten into their salary from when they started to where they are now. So this retention again helps kind of remedy that, because we're restricted on what we can do with base pay, and so this creates those gaps that helps remedy some of the issues that have occurred over the last 15 years with inflation eating away at what they anticipated making when they started working for VCS.
What was your initial calculation on that?
Oh,
cost
absolutely.
increase?
It's like 200.
No,
No,
it was
point-
8
.8.
865
And to the point, there was a conversation.
with benefits.
I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
I'm sorry, yeah, 865 with benefits, I just wanted to put that out there.
And there was a, never mind, we won't go there.
Okay, do you want to say something, Joe?
No, I just wanted to point that out, that we're currently spending over $7 million in retention bonuses reoccurring now. And the ask you have is about another $1 million. So that would put it about $8 million in reoccurring just in retention bonuses.
But has there been a consideration that if the retention doesn't increase, then the compression starts to become greater? Is there a consideration for understand, because you had talked about the 17 million a couple
0.6,
different
right.
times, right?
Mhm.
But in having a moment to think about what you were saying,
Right.
if all of that dumps into salary, then that money is now beholden to the rules and the laws that affect salary. So it's not an even swap. The way, if we use these other vehicles that don't have restrictions on how those funds can be distributed to individuals, it creates a deficit model. If we take that 17 million and we say, you know what, instead of playing around with supplement here, supplement there, supplement everywhere, we just give it to you all in salary, it's not the same result because of those contingencies and the restrictions on how salaries can be provided. There's no restrictions for non-bargaining and support, abuse support even. You wanna give them 2%, you give them 2%, everybody gets it. But that's not the case with instructional because of the laws. And so that's why it's really important to us to continue using this mechanism so that we can, we're freer, we're able to more freely provide.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's just a conversation to point out, as we talked about, thinking outside the box. We've got to remember that there's almost $18 million every year in reoccurring costs that are going to our employees' pockets through the mechanisms you just discussed. It does give us the latitude. Yes, there'll be rules that are applicable, but it does give us the freedom, whether we wanted to impact base pay or a higher percentage of raise across the board for all of the employees. Those options still exist in that thought process. It's not a new get, as you said at the last meeting. It's not a new get, but it's an opportunity to distribute those funds in a different way than we've done. We've got decisions to make.
But to your point, and some of the language that you used across the board, but it's not across the board, because the laws prohibit us from doing it across the board.
Some would benefit, some would not.
But would we engage in a process where some people who were currently earning at a certain rate would then be negatively impacted? We do no harm here at
Oh,
this table.
it would be a lot of work to do. We would have to work through those things, but the example that I pointed out is because the change in the TSIA, we know the first and second year teachers are not eligible for some of those funds. So this money is here for us to have discussions about how we want to utilize it.
So, and that leads to a question I had, because I just asked Michelle to look at something for me. I know longevity is something we're not necessarily allowed to touch, because if we do, then it falls into the TSIA rules.
Right.
However, what if we did away with longevity altogether and applied that to this?
But it's still not going to, it's still not, it's still a flat. It's a wash. It's not anything that's going, what would be the, why would you do that?
Because you could, not only could you do what you're asking, but you could also, what was it, 1.9, wasn't it? Or can I, huh? It's 1.9.
But
So
it's
that-
already 1.9, and when you talk.
But that's a set rate. That's $100. But if I go and you're wanting to raise this by $30, that's going to end up being more money for this group, if you have a larger pot.
We have about 2 million right now we're putting in longevity annually.
So that's
reoccurring.
all I'm saying is I'm not opposed to shifting it. I know we kind of haven't messed with it because of the TSIA. But if we're talking about how we could utilize money and get it a little bit more, just a suggestion.
Can I ask
Go ahead,
a
Tom.
question for clarity? And I don't know who to ask, so.
You can ask me, and if
Perfect.
I don't respond, I'll ask Matt to respond, but I'm the chief negotiator.
So I noticed on the years, we showed 15 and 19 years would get an extra $10. So that's a 10% increase. And then you did 20 to 24 for, 20 through 24 would get an extra 12% increase from what the original. How come this increased, or why are you treating the 25-year veterans greater percentage increase than, why wouldn't you just do it, propose 10 across the board, 10% increase off of that base amount, but you kept increasing the percentage? I just was curious.
Because there's value. We believe that the longer you do your craft, the more masterful you become. And so we believe that there is increased value instead of just doing a flat percentage across the board.
But it, yeah.
Do you want to add anything to that, Matt?
No, it's just to decompress. That's what it is. That's what the retention is designed for, and so that's why when we're talking about increasing retention, we are just trying to decompress. That's what the percentages get larger as you go through the years of service.
And I get that, and that part makes complete and total sense. And the other piece too, with that longevity, right now, to get longevity, it's year 11. This, if we were to take that pot of money and put it here, you're now helping those people 5 through 10 as well. That's all I'm saying. It was just a thought I had with how we could reallocate. That is it.
Yep. Well, it's something we can perhaps think about, but So it's something that we can think about and talk about, but, you know, our proposal here keeps longevity the way it is. I mean, it's something
I know it's
that's
in a
been
different
there.
article, but
Mhm.
I just.
No,
Okay.
longevity is in
Is it?
26.
Yeah, it's right
Is
there.
it?
Here.
Right
Where's it?
there at the bottom of the next page.
Oh, sorry, I just don't ever look at it.
Yep, but,
There it is,
you
I see
know,
it.
again, it's really important that we address compression. It's been discussed multiple times. I mean, the board or whomever made the decision, has now decompressed transportation. Decompression is real, and it's not a result of necessarily what we've done here. These are consequences of laws, right? So, we believe that this is, important enough to do. And again, it comes in at about 800,000, so we know that it can be absolutely done. All right, you'll see that as we go forward, we have moved our request for the COLA to be a 2%. That is across, you want to use across the board, so this is across the board. So those teachers with less than 2 years' experience would get 2% as would everybody in the bargaining unit. So that was some movement from us. You'll see on the back of the next page, under in-service payment, voluntary in-service when approved will be compensated at $33. Prior to today, we had it at the individual's hourly rate of pay. And so we did the math on the base salary and it was 33 and change, so that's why we moved it to 33.
Okay.
Now, we had, the suggestion here on 10-month, 10 days, we like this and we want, to tell you that. But for some reason, we're questioning why during the summer was included in there. We didn't really feel that that was necessary because you referenced for the additional days. And as you mentioned, you said that some places provide, some departments give flexibility to work in those 10 days. And so we haven't found anybody that does that yet, but we were thinking that if some of that flexibility was maybe winter break, spring break, some of those other days that are within the identified year, we wouldn't want them to not be able to access this additional money because of the during the summer piece. I don't know if that makes it or breaks it for you. I hope it doesn't. Moving on, we have inserted language here, a proposal for certified personnel who work extended school year, ESY, and whose work during ESY requires additional credentials. So for example, I think of our SLPs. You know, when they do ESY, they're not doing it in the capacity of a classroom teacher teaching reading camp or something. They're providing speech language services, typically getting comp ed done. So if a speech language pathologist or someone with those required additional credentials is working extended school year, we want them also to receive their advanced degree in job role supplement or job role stipend in that payment for ESY. We believe that right now they're not receiving that. It's just consistent with what we have above, so that's why we put that in there. And then you'll see on the back page, we are asking to change the supplement values for our speech language folks that have the additional, the 3 Cs, those additional credentials, and then move our social workers up at a moderate rate there.
Okay.
And then down at the bottom,
Just the G.
yeah, it's the G, but we can revert back to the original G.
Okay.
I don't know why that didn't get back to.
No, it needs to be G because it.
But it was marked as H, but it's
Yeah,
supposed
no,
to
it
be
needs to be
It
G.
needs to be G, just,
Yeah.
there's no change on it.
All right, and
Okay.
let me just look down there. Joanne, is there anything you want to add on the movement on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I would like to talk about the requested increased stipend for speech language pathologists. So I've been an SLP with the district now for 5 years. We are requesting an increase in our stipends due primarily to the significant number of vacancies we have. So our district has about 97, I believe, spots for speech-language clinicians, speech language pathologists, and bachelor level SLPs. A lot of those positions are contract positions. Right now, we have openings for 24 positions, and they are filled with 20 contract SLPs. The district is paying $58 to $72 an hour to fill these positions. In addition to the high amount of pay, those contract positions are often given non-compete clauses, so even if they wanted to work for the district afterward, they couldn't. As of right now, this pay increase would affect only approximately 48 CCC SLPs, which is the Certificate of Clinical Competence. So those are your SLPs who are able to provide evaluations, who have gotten advanced training, our master's degree, as well as an additional year of training. This stipend would affect those SLPs. And, you know, I was just talking to, before this meeting started, I was speaking to my colleague over here, and she was telling me a story at New Smyrna Beach Middle School. She had a student who had a stutter, and the student loved going to speech. Every day she asked if she could go to speech. But unfortunately, after the first quarter, she was no longer able to go to speech because the speech language pathologist at her site had been recruited by Orange County, Moorhead, and she had left, which was leaving a vacancy at that school. And unfortunately, that's all too common. We are losing talented SLPs to other counties, and we're having a really difficult time filling the spots, which is why we have 24 vacancies right now.
Thank you. And then I'll just finish then. I know you want to say something. So last night at the board meeting, there was the agenda item that I spoke to that referenced comp ed. And I know the conversation that occurred afterward and all the things that were said. But our SLPs right now are working to make up missed service hours from 23-24. They have a list of missed hours comp ed that's due from 24-25, and because they're working to make up from 2 years ago, they're gonna have hours that are gonna be missed as well this year. So the work is there, and I think the recognition needs to be there for the work that's being done by these folks. And if we were able to offer a better package, maybe some of these vacancies would not still exist. And we would be able to retain our folks instead of having them move on to other districts or having to hire contract workers. So, anything else, Matt, you want to add on that? Okay. Did you want to ask about this or something else? Because we
Yeah, I
have
was
one
gonna
more
ask
thing.
about that.
Okay.
Okay, how many people are we talking about here for this speech language?
We have roughly 96.
So we have multiple levels of speech in the county. So this would affect 48 CCC level.
So-
The 97 is overall speech people, but that includes our contract employees, our VCS employees, and speech language pathology assistants. This would affect 48.
Okay, and then, hey, and Matt, did you happen to cost this out for us, all right?
So I was super conservative, so I did 48 times 2,500. And then there are about 20 to 25 social workers. Does that sound right?
That sounds about right.
And I did that times 1,500, which is, again, super conservative because that's the highest increase.
Yes.
And it's like 230 or something.
Okay.
That's what I ended up, I put it on here as 250,
So
but
Yeah.
again, super conservative, because I didn't have time to go through and see which
Which band they
SLPs
were in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Do you wanna, so that leads us to how we wrap it all up. And we're presenting,
We're gonna give you these ones.
yeah, give it those. We're presenting what we believe the package to be.
They're the same thing, I just didn't cut these very
Oh,
well.
it's okay. I'll forgive you on that one.
Stephanie, could I ask a clarifying
Sure,
question that I
Andrew, go
think
ahead.
you all know the answer to, and I just don't?
Yes,
About the 3Cs. So, just so I'm tracking all this, we're saying there are 48 positions for the 3C certification.
Currently, we have 48 with the 3Cs.
It could, and I'm just trying to wrap it around, could all 96 end up being 3Cs? I mean, if that says, okay, that's.
No.
Yeah, we've
No.
never, as a district, I can remember my days in the SC, we never had more than half. It's never been more than about half that have the 3Cs because of what it takes to get it. So,
That's a very good question, though. Good to point out. All right, so Matt has provided you with our breakdown of the cost. So Matt, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, the left side just looks similar to what we had last week with the retention of 865, the salaries at 2%, the stipend increase, and then backing out the 2% for the first years because we're keeping that base salary the same. The right kind of has the progression that we've gone through. So go with me. So the first line was View's proposal. It was very close to 14 million. I took TSIA out of all of these.
yeah,
It was very close to 14 million. I had the percentage increase there. When I added in TSI, I had the overall. Again, these are average increases. Then I have the VCS counter, what that was, the View counter on the 917. I have the VCS counter and then the bonus on a separate line because it would be non-recurring. And I don't know why I left TSI in there twice, but it shouldn't be in there twice.
it's okay.
And then our final counter for today and kind of what the package is total and then what percentage that is plus the TSA to get us to our final.
Okay, and I want to talk about that TSA column. So everybody's been throwing around 0.54. That's what percentage it is of the BSI, or the BSA money.
Yeah.
When you actually look at it, that dollar amount, figure it up to
performance
it,
pay.
through a cost of 1 and all that type of thing, it's actually 0.65.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher.
Yeah, so I just want us to be
yeah,
clear
so-
that it is just a little bit more, so that would put it at almost 3%.
Yeah, and when I was looking through this, because the TSIA is 2.1 million, right? And I don't know how much goes to charters, or maybe it's 2.1 after
It's
charters.
2.1 with charters.
Oh, so it's already been, those
So we
already
back
backed out.
out charters.
Perfect.
So 1.9's about what ours is.
Yeah, and that, and like the benefits and stuff, because that formula we created.
1.9's with benefits.
Yeah, the formula we created it has the formula. So I knew it was more than 0.54, I just didn't know what it ended up
6.4.
being, but.
So,
I knew it was more.
so is it, I think we need to talk about this.
Yep, that's where we're at.
Okay, so what we heard over and over again is there is a pot of money, and then we can distribute it, we even kind of talked about it a little bit here tonight. So what we are presenting to you tonight is, on this document, we've got it coming in at 2.92%. It sounds like we may be a smidge closer to 3.
It'd be like 3.02.
Okay, so
It's
about
3%.
3,
Yep,
right?
3%.
And so we believe that is, that will be able to accomplish the things that we are making priorities right now. A COLA of 2 for everybody, putting money to reduce compression on retention, moving some of these stipends, and then, what we
The
have
TSIA
described
stuff.
here, and then the TSIA, absolutely. So we've heard you, and we are trying to figure out how we can get a pot of money that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish for our members, that will actually be ratified. We think it's very reasonable to come in at 3%, right about 3% there, and we hope that we can get this done. We want to get it done tonight if possible.
All right, sorry, I was just making some notes.
Are we going to
So-
caucus now?
No, we've
What do we
got
do?
an article to actually
Oh, okay.
present, so I have one I need to send across. Okay, so, thank you for that.
Oh, no,
What?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Right. So we have 15, we just, held from last time simply because it was late, so, did you changed the date? Look at you. I was gonna say we didn't change the date, but Dolly did, so,
Did anything else change on it?
huh?
Did anything else change? Then you don't need to resend it. You don't need to resend it then.
There we go.
Is that enough or do you need an extra?
No, that's enough. We're good. We're good.
Okay, so what we have is the transfer and the vacancy article that we had discussed. We are in agreement with the 10 days. I think that is beneficial to everyone involved, and it, at the end of the day, lets people move on to the next placement. For number 4, we are also somewhat in agreement with what you were talking about. What we did is we said that bargaining unit members who accept a voluntary transfer for the subsequent year shall be eligible for 1 additional voluntary transfer until 2 weeks prior to the first day of pre-planning, so long as the new position equates to a career advancement. So some of those things we talked about, moving to a district position, or moving from a classroom teacher to a coach, or something like that. Our biggest concern was lateral moves, just a straight, I'm moving from a second grade teacher at this school to a second grade teacher at that school. So you can take a look at it and, let us know what you think.
Can I ask you a follow-up?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because it's all in the same bargaining unit. They're all bargaining unit positions, so that's what gives me a little bit of pause when we use career advancement, because it's all in the same unit, same contract. So would it be acceptable to think along the lines of something, I don't know exactly, the word lateral that you used, or that's what I was thinking, is what I'm thinking you're trying to express here. Not like a lateral, like you said, classroom to
Correct.
classroom.
That is correct. So something that is different from what they're currently sitting in.
It's just figuring out how to say it.
Exactly. So that was kind of our first stab at it. Okay, we went back to the original language on B1. That is something that is, really an HR process. Involuntary transfers due to reductions in allocations. This, and I don't have all my principles here, but a lot of this discussion centered around if you have 2 people who hold the exact same certification and are both, obviously not a tenured teacher, but have, years of experience outside of the tenured definition, that it should be based on, what is better for the school. They should be allowed to pick which of the 2 teachers, if they are absolutely equal in every other way.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
How would you determine what is better for the school? Because the reason we wrote this language was because we had an incident in a high school that you're familiar with, I believe. I think you're familiar with it. We had a situation at a high school, exact same credentials, exact same certifications.
I'll try to remember.
Marlo? Where's Marlo? Marlo, would you mind real quick? And the difference was, there was a difference in seniority, and then, so how would you determine what is best for the school?
Well, I think that's principal discretion. That's kind of how we interpret it, and Josh, if you want to pipe up on that.
Yeah, so the thing that we look at, if you have the exact same and you're looking, there's other avenues that fit. It fits with the attitude of that person. Like when we look at things, we look at the disposition as well. Dispositions are very important, especially when working with kids, the relationships they build. You're looking at also factors. You're looking like at the evaluation pieces, how they're performing with kids. Are you putting the best teacher in front of your kids in the classroom on a daily basis? Those are things that we do look at. And making it, because at the end of the day, we want the best in front of our kids.
Marlo? Would you like to respond?
I have a question about that, though. Then if that person is not the best for your kids, then, and they're not tenured, then why was that not reflected in other places per se?
Well,
Why are we passing them from one school to another?
Well, this
then?
is due to reduction in allocation, so this is just displacements. It could be that someone came to me, and I'm at a middle school. And we all know, and we've got plenty of middle school people sitting at the table, it takes a very special person to work with middle school kids. But that's how I got my foot in the door. And I've been here for 2 or 3 years, but it has been, with my principal, middle school's just not my thing. I need to be a high school math teacher or whatever it is that I do. And so I think that's what Josh is getting at. You want to make sure that they are at the right level. So.
Okay, but the issue that we had with what we're talking about, these two people had been teaching the same thing for, one who actually had more seniority than the other. He had only ever taught PE at the high school level, and then he was moved into a position that wasn't even teaching PE.
Because we have to, when someone is displaced, we have to move them into something that they are certified in, and we all know that PE is not an area that jobs come open very often. So what we have to look at is when you have someone who has a single certification, there are very few classes out there that they can teach with a PE certification. So in this case, critical thinking was the class that we could place them in based on the certifications they have.
I'm gonna ask a question here. So what we don't want to have happen is we don't want it to be popularity contest. We don't want it to be subjective. We don't want to be who's bringing the iced coffee to the principal in the morning every day, to be the one who gets to stay.
And I agree. I don't disagree with that.
But how do we then ensure that that doesn't happen if we can't really clearly define what the language that says benefits the overall operation of the school is? So again, in the situation that was the catalyst for writing this, it was very clear that there were relationships that were the result of the individual who got to stay, that's why he got to stay versus the one who was displaced, who eventually and subsequently left the district along with his wife. So now we've lost two instructional
But the other thing too, to kind of piggyback on what Josh was talking about, you know, if I have two people who are sitting in front of me that are exactly the same, I'm gonna look not only how they interact with my kids, but what other contributions are they making to the school?
Can I interrupt for just a
Sure.
second? They're not exactly the same because one has greater seniority, and that's what we were trying to insert here. When the credentials are the same and all that's brought to the table in that regard is the same professional presentation, but if one is more senior with VCS, wouldn't that garner some kind of recognition and value?
I want to look at who is going to be the best fit for my kids and the best fit at my school. So that means if I have two people, this one has 5, this one has 6, but the one that has 5, they are the yearbook sponsor, the tennis coach, the whatever. Those things have to play into it too. So that was our logic in that. And again, this is more of, I feel like, as a secondary type conversation, not as much as an elementary, but I see how it applies across the board. So that's where we ended on that one.
And can I say something real quick?
Of course.
Piggyback off. So passing down teachers, what you're talking about, I'm gonna say this, it's very important, I know I do this, is to document thoroughly using the evaluation process. Because the thing is what I just said, you wanna put the best person in front of your kids every day. And to do that as well, part of that is that an administrator has to do the work, has to support that teacher while going through that entire process to give them every opportunity and every chance to improve while providing those supports. And at the end of it, I'm just gonna tell you, at the end of it, you've got documentation. I talk to Elisa Fedigan. I go through different vetting processes before I would go non-reappoint somebody and make sure you have all the documentation in place.
But to that point, this is not about non-reappointment.
That's correct,
This is
but
about
I was
involuntary
asking- answering
transfers.
her question.
But additionally, the evaluation is not included in the list of determiners. So that evaluation part actually comes in another article where the evaluation is referenced in the decision-making process. So, you know, we're just looking right here at tenure first, and then certification areas. That's what we're looking at here. So, yeah, we're not gonna beat this one to death, but we wanted to have a conversation with you about trying to figure out why seniority wouldn't make a difference, so thank
Okay.
you, Marla, I appreciate that you came up.
You can stay. So on the next one, that, I can't agree to that simply because I'm the one that does this. And part of the reason is, I don't feel like anybody should be notified about something before our employee. And that it is on the employee if they want to share it with the union. And that, you know, I just feel like that my responsibility is to the employee first,
So what are we gonna do about, the administrators, and no disrespect to anybody at the table, but, we know, based on the last few years of doing this work together, that there are some administrators that don't adhere to the timelines. I'm not talking about when an employee is out on the day that they're all supposed to be notified. I'm talking about administrators that maybe aren't reading their emails or not up on when things are supposed to be done. And now we have somebody that's going to be displaced that isn't told by their administrator for several days. And now we're having to move the timeline for the movement of the individual because they weren't told. We reach out to our members when we find out, because we want to say, hey, we heard about this, we're here to support you, we're here to help you, what do you need?
Yeah, but I also know there were cases, especially in this last go-round, of the dozen or so that we had, that you notified them before the principal did. And
Yeah.
that, I think that's unfair. I think it needs to come from the person that's sitting across the table from them as their administrator.
But to that end, we followed current contract language with that. And based on our receipt of the information that you gave us after the timeline of all the notifications that were supposed to have been done, why are we the first one?
Yeah, and that's
Because
that's something
on-
we have to deal with on our end.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, I would rather wait until I know they've all been notified versus giving it to you first. That's all I'm saying. So,
I see us as a partner in this
I do
work.
too, but I just feel like if something is going to impact your job, it should come from your employer first. That's just my take on it as HR. So, because I want us to have time to caucus.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so, on the last one, the non-reappoints, I think that's something you and I have talked about before that we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on.
Even when it's negatively impacting people financially, when
Yes.
they have secured a position through the job fair or before the
Yes,
end of
because
this
there was a
contractual
reason
workday.
that they were non-reappointed from the other position, and you have to respect what that principal has done.
Well,
So-
we definitely are gonna disagree on that one.
I know. That's why I said, I think that's one we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on. So anyway, so that's
Yep,
9.
let's caucus.
And I was gonna say, can we
Yep.
just
Definitely.
use,
So you gave us this.
that's the only one I owed you was
Yeah.
9. So, all right, we'll head over. Jerry, I think
Dolly,
we're
you
gonna
got
caucus.
everything?
So 6:06, Dolly?
Dolly, you got everything?
Here, Dolly. Sorry, Michelle. I didn't mean to-
No, I would rather you guys go first. We passed you several articles, so.
Okay,
I
well.
want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so, two of them we have not looked at. We're gonna take those back, because we know compensation seems to be the main topic of discussion. And, I'm just gonna start by saying that our plan right now is to revert back to the last article that we passed, so we did not reprint it. We obviously didn't want to waste paper. I'm gonna let Mr. Cash and Mr. Cease provide some additional information.
At the conclusion of the last bargaining session, as we were closing out, we told you that, we were being transparent and honest. We wanted everybody to know this was our offer. This is what we were authorized to do, and this is our best offer with the 1% bonus, which equaled about a 3% package, which we talked about was above some of our surrounding districts, and you acknowledged that at the time. So then at the end of the meeting, you asked what, is the chance of bringing up that COLA about 0.5%? What is the possibility of that? Is there a possibility? And I responded that there isn't. And we're still at that particular moment. The 0.5 you're asking for would be an additional $1.3 million a year in reoccurring costs. We're just not in a position to do that. So to be quite frank, this is where we are.
Okay, well, that's disappointing to hear. When you mention the other surrounding districts, you're not really giving the full result of their negotiations, because when you mention Brevard, they have a 2-year deal. They also have a referendum. When you mentioned Osceola, they were able to get money on their insurance. And, we could go through each one of the districts, but we don't really have time, and we've already talked about that.
Right.
So just so that you know, we put a survey out after our last bargaining session specific to the district's offer. And so we have had quite an overwhelming response just in a few days' time. And of the respondents, 86% of those who responded have said it's not good enough. It is not appropriate to recognize the work that they have done to move the district to an A grade, nor does it honor all that they do continuously for this district and for our students. So that is extremely disappointing to hear. We absolutely listened to the conversation, and we had made what we believe to be a reasonable proposal as well, that honors and values the work of the teachers and the instructional personnel in this district. Okay? You want to add anything there? Nope? Okay. So we done?
With that, yeah, that's it, because the other two we still want to take back and have some further conversation about.
Okay. So, being the time is what it is, would you like to look at additional dates?
I think at this point, we'll get back to you on additional dates
When might you get back with us?
shortly.
So by the end of the week?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think you can tell that this is not, well, we'll end there.
Very much.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.